All right, welcome everybody. We're going to be talking today about revenue reality check, building AI first teams that actually work. To do that, we brought on Jordan Timothy, old friend of mine. He's currently running enablement over at SEMrush. Jordan, how are you? Thanks for joining.
Gabe, what's up? It's good to see you again, man.
Yeah, this is Jordan and I go way back, doing some cool stuff over the last 10 to 15 years, all sales, kind of revenue enablement, etc. Maybe before we dive in, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. So started back in InsideSales.com as, an SDR, BDR, outbounding, and just fell in love with
I remember that, dude. That was
yeah.
a long time ago. I remember that though. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of the painful memories feel like they were yesterday, but it was a long time ago, and kind of worked my way through sales and sales management. And at one point, the president of the company, Ken Crow, pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you've done this for yourself. You've done it for a team. Do you think you could do it at a wider scale?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, we're thinking about this thing. We don't know what to call it. Maybe it's like training. Maybe it's like kind of." And anyways, this is my introduction into enablement. And so since that time, Ken was a great mentor and got me started in that. And then since that time, have just been riding the wave, man. It's been awesome to see the evolution of enablement over the years, go from a training perspective into now where we're at now, where it's like kind of this strategic business partner that helps to execute on big initiatives. So it's been cool to be a part of that.
What a cool journey. What a cool journey. Do you, with enablement, do you, that kind of evolution that you've seen, how do you kind of look at it now? Is it something that's really kind of more of is it broken into specific areas? You kind of mentioned that it is more of a strategic nature. Like, what is the state of enablement overall?
Yeah, I think right now, enablement used to be very synonymous with training, right?
Yeah.
We need enablement. Really what they're saying is we need a training. Now it's all about optimization. It's all about speed to productivity. It's all about, ensuring that, and this is the perfect segue into this conversation that we're having today, because right now, AI and enablement, it's like that's a critical part of the infrastructure for both of those for the business, is to have both those things tied together. And so it's all about helping to actually generate revenue and be a part of that, rather than, only this product training here or spot checking over there. It's now a more strategic alignment.
Interesting. Yeah, look, man, you've been around it. Do you see with enablement, one more, and then I want to dive into a couple things, so much going on with AI, et cetera. But do you see that it's kind of broken up in organizations more these days? Is it like you have, the term like revenue enablement is used, but you have like SDR or marketing, customer service, customer success, sales, or does everyone, what does the structure look like?
Yeah. So I think the structure varies by company, right? And part of that is based on how they set up their revenue function. So sometimes you have a CRO. When there's a CRO, it makes sense to have all of that sit under one umbrella, but then specialize in those areas, right? So that's one aspect. The other way to look at it is if the revenue function is broken up between, marketing, pre, post, sales, it really means that you probably need to just create functional teams that are aligned cross-functionally, but then report up to their various revenue leader. Or
interesting. Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, look, so much, and I'm sure that it's going to continue to evolve, right? You've seen a lot, but it's probably not done by any means soon. So cool. Well, wanted to dive into a little bit of some of the stuff around AI. One of the things I feel like has come up, even as we put on this event, is a lot of revenue leaders are being told, you need AI. And it's so funny because I had one person tell me, it's like, it's not, they're in a board meeting and it's just like, are you using AI? Like, it's not even like, are you cutting costs or are you like growing sales? It's just like, are you using AI? And it's like, what if I am? Shouldn't I be doing, don't you want to know if it's working or is it, but that's neither here nor there. But anyways, a lot of pressure to use AI. But I'm curious, where should these revenue leaders start? How do you frame the role of AI in this modern revenue org at the strategic level?
Yeah, that's a good question. Real quick, before I jump to that, I do want to say, I'm going to be talking a lot. Some of the things I'm going to be saying, I talk to a lot of companies across the board, enablement partners, teams, all over the landscape, right? So the things I'm going to say, they're not necessarily representing the entire view of SEMrush. I'll give a couple tips and nuggets that I've seen work here, but largely, I talked to so many people,
Yeah, I
Gabe.
love it. I love it.
Just with that question though, let's be honest. It's kind of a pointed question, Gabe. You're trying to get me to tell everybody like, hey, start with signals. Everybody like just plug in there. No, I'm just kidding. Where to start? I mean, signals is a great start, but where to start? If you're a revenue leader and you just the quick answer to this is find the point of friction. So you're gonna have a ton of points of friction. Pick one. And that might mean, where, like the question you should be asking is where are your reps losing the most time or the most momentum, and just try to start there. Go figure out what success looks like. And if there is no friction there, and then figure out how to just ingest or implement AI into that point. Yeah. So yeah, identify a high friction point. I would say that beyond that, one thing to consider is let's take an example of that is account research, right? That's like a big point of friction for a seller.
Love it.
Take hours. With AI, you can become an industry expert overnight, right? And so pick a point and then start. And then I would say another really low hanging fruit for revenue leaders is you probably have 15 tools in your tech stack right now across the board, right? In every single one of those tools, there's probably a level of AI, whether that's a bolt-on or native or whatever it is. So I would also start there, make sure you're getting the most value out of the tool stack you already have, make sure you understand it and that your teams are using it. And if it can solve that friction point, great. If not, it's just another place to start, another thing to look at. You're going to get the most value. And I would say if your tool does not have AI into it or immediately on the roadmap, it's time to look at a new tool. So
interesting. That's cool.
That's where I would say start,
I like that because I'm going to want to say one thing, but one more question I want to throw out there. How have you seen companies in this world start to kind of, because I'm feeling like there's almost three categories of tools emerging. You mentioned like AI add-ons. So I've got like whatever tool, conversational intelligence that's, typically just listen to my calls, and now there's some AI involved in it,
Yeah.
And then I've got more of these AI first tools that are like, there was no foundation. They're just brand new and they're kind of quote unquote. And then you have like these co-pilot type tools, that are more, user based, like Gemini and ChatGPT and stuff like that. How are you seeing organizations just on that third cat? So you talked a little bit about AI first, and I love that. Find a friction point, etc. Love the concept of going to your current tool set, and you already have it. You might as well use it. A lot of them are just giving it to you for it's included in your package. But some of these tools, like the GPT stuff, how have you seen companies adopt that? Are you seeing that as an absolute must? Is that the beginning, or you're like, honestly, that isn't that helpful? Where do you place that?
Specific to like GPTs or something like
GPT or
that.
Gemini or some of them.
Yeah. So I think the couple things. One is, and this is just probably a little bit more of a perspective from an enablement side, but
sure.
with if you are using a corporate license to GPT or something, okay, pause here. Reality, your reps are already your teams are already using GPT in some form, right? Whether that's sanctioned by the company or not, I promise you they're doing it. And so the question is, how can you keep it safe, secure, and scalable with, and then get things done at speed with it. And so to your question is, if you're using GPT, I've seen one of the best things to do is create custom GPTs that can be shared and that are tied to source documents that actually mean something. So I'll give an example here. Custom GPT is you basically build a mini agent that's designed to do a very specific function, solve a very specific problem, and then you point it towards a bunch of source material. Now with GPT, ChatGPT, etc., you can do that shared across. Gemini, you can't share gems across, but they do have that functionality. So if you teach your reps how to build themselves a gem and point it towards the right documentation, that's some of the things I'm seeing work best for sellers.
I love that. Is there, I appreciate it. I just wanted your quick take on that. Yeah. Is there and this is going tactical for just a second, but as you've thought about custom GPTs or you've seen it across your network, is there one that jumps out of mind, like a competitive intelligence one or a research one or something that you're like,
Yeah. I love ones that obviously go towards anything building pipe. Like that's great. But the best thing that I know that I've seen you can do with any of these GPTs, whether it is account research or whatever else it is is if you are building or you can add to it, uh, add one little piece at the bottom that's like, once you've given me this information, ask me if I want to role play or get coached on this. And so every single time that a rep, let's say they get an account, they do an account plan, they get a bunch of account research. At the end of that GPT, it automatically comes back and says, great, like now I've given you all the account research, we've created this thing. You want to role play a first call on this? And someone can just turn on their microphone and do a little role play with it, and it actually works pretty good. So
Yeah, I love
now
that.
there's a lot of other companies
Cool.
out there that probably do it better than someone building it in house, but that's a quick, easy win.
Yeah, look, I like that framing. I feel like a lot of orgs are somewhere with the tool set. Normally, I actually seen it kind of maybe opposite of what you said, what you were talking through. Like people are starting with ChatGPT, like you said, every rep's doing it. Then they're next kind of diving into their current tool set and actually saying like, hey, how do we use this tool and get some AI out? And then number three, they're like, hey, if this isn't working, now I kind of go to like this AI first solution type thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's kind of a little bit of an evolution. So cool. Okay. Super appreciative. Let's hit point two. I was thinking about ROI a little bit. How are you seeing that frame? I mean, you've been in the tool business for so long. You got a lot. You probably have a new AI vendor hitting you every day. How are you working with your teams to justify the new expenditure? Because you already have 1,000 tools. Now you've got this whatever AI first vendor. Are you working with finance? Is it similar as it's been before? How is this kind of working, trying to get these tools in place?
I think the reality is right now it's pretty similar
Okay.
to buying another tool, and the reason why is because they don't like people don't have. Let's just call a spade a spade. There's no people are not like developing some major AI strategy at the business right now. It's like everyone's just trying to use it. They're just trying to like to your point earlier. It's like we got to use it.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, because there is no dedicated strategy at a lot of places, I mean, granted, a lot of people are doing it now, but because there is not a dedicated strategy, it's hard to say that there's a dedicated budget. I am confident that in the next year, companies, when they do their 2026 FY planning, it's going to be a whole section of just dollars dedicated to AI. But right now, it's similar to how you'd buy any other tool. I think the difference is that with AI, I think you're going to be able to prove ROI quicker, which means you can actually, I think, put a little bit more pressure on the actual like solution that's being offered to you, right?
Yeah.
So you can, like, what are we going to expect out of this? If and all the rest of it's the same sort of stuff. Hey, if we see an increase of, credit contacts or whatever else it is, we should be seeing this down the stream, right? That business case is going to be similar right now, but I think that the actual ability to see the gains will come quicker. And so
Yeah.
then
Like,
that,
do you feel like the tool, one of the things that I think is being debated sometimes is like tool versus headcount cost.
yeah,
Does that come up in some of your conversations with friends and
yeah,
foes?
yeah, all the time. And I think there's like kind of an undercurrent there around, well, are we replacing people with AI? Are
Yeah.
we like, and if so, like, then we balance out the cost there, right? Or,
Yeah.
we get two AI tools for one person. That conversation does come up. But to the point you're making is, I think what we're seeing is it's and right now it's not or.
Got
So
it.
it's like the conversation is how can we do both? It's not replacing one or the other.
Yeah.
I do
Okay. Yeah.
think
I
that,
wonder how that'll continue to evolve. That's
yeah,
interesting because I've been in different conversations, some where it's just like, this is our tools budget. This is another tool and we're trying another AI. We're trying AI. And then other people are like, no, this is like a people conversation and there's like a people budget and
yeah.
I'm
And
like,
I think,
that's all.
I think two things real quick, on just on this note, when you're what I've seen work for people who are getting AI into the business, it's like anchoring to that cost of inaction. And then taking the question to your point one step further is that when we start thinking of an AI agent in relation to cost of its human counterpart, that's what we're talking about here,
Yeah.
is we have to focus on both revenue gains and loss prevention,
Interesting.
because
Yeah.
there's some things that an AI employee can't do, and there's some things that a bio employee can do, but it takes them way too long. And so it's about that merger. So if
Yeah.
you can tell that story, and I've often heard people talk about their competitors. Hey, if our competitors, when they're pitching this to their finance team, if our competition does this and they get even a 10% efficiency gain, they're gonna outpace our go-to-market speed by months, right? So
Yeah, fascinating, fascinating. Okay, you work a lot with finance and marketing, and how, and you mentioned like an AI strategy. Well, yeah, what do you think on that? When you use the word AI strategy, because yeah, it feels like a lot of people are still very like, it's a single use case where it's like, hey, I had a problem, I'm trying to do very tool. It feels like I had a SaaS tool, now I want like an AI tool. When you use the word AI strategy, like what would that, what would an org? I don't feel like a lot of people have that. What it would just be a unified
yeah.
strategy where we're kind of talking about how we're driving AI versus this. I just talk about I'm trying to solve one problem over here. John's trying to
Yeah.
solve one problem over there. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think right now what a lot of companies are doing is they're allowing like a little bit of freedom and groundswell on these things. So some independence, right? Like, hey, sales, you're in your box, go do your thing. Customer success, do your thing. I think when we think about that AI strategy, um, what I've seen a lot of companies doing is just creating a council, an AI council that their job is to try and they're tied to a bigger initiative, but they should be also trying to really align all the cross-functional efforts. And that means everything from AI that's being built into the product all the way down to AI that is being used to help increase
Mm,
productivity or
yeah.
whatever. Right.
Yeah, because what ends up happening, right? But probably much like you saw with tools, is it's like one person buys some AI thing, and we could use another duplication. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
we have that just like we have two tools for X, Y, or Z. Um, from a unification standpoint, have you found some ways or heard of some ways to kind of bring these people together to get that? I mean, again, maybe it's a
Yeah.
council. Maybe the council is the idea because it's like, how do you bring some of these different units together to work in a more cohesive manner?
Yeah, so I like to think about this the same way that you would do a bunch of multi-threading selling, right? So
Yeah.
if you're doing a multi-threaded sell, like you're trying to find what the interdependencies are of each of the groups. So if you're selling to, a sales team, like what do they care about? Well, they care about generating more revenue. Well, how does that align to whatever finance is trying to do? Well, then how does that impact marketing? So the same way that you would kind of cross-thread that, it's the same idea but internally. So
Yeah.
what are those common denominators? Maybe it's top 5, top 10 things that every aspect of the business cares about, and appoint an AI lead to be a part of this council that's
Mm.
responsible for helping their piece of the business, but also looking at that greater picture. And I think some businesses, they have a goal of, hey, we want to increase productivity by X%, and that's great, but then you have to think about the tactical granular levels at which that gets deployed in each department in order to do that. And so that's where this AI council comes with someone who has direct responsibility. I've also seen a little bit some other companies that are a little more progressive around this, where they're actually appointing like a chief of staff or a AI chief of staff, and that person's sole responsibility is tied to 3 OKRs or whatever it is, directly aligned to how that AI performs in the business. And so
Yeah.
maybe it's given an actual number or whatever it is. So yeah.
Yeah, like just getting more structured, more organized around it. Yeah, one of the things I think people are going to start having challenges on. I was in a conversation the other day. We have this concept of like kind of cloud employees. Um, um, sorry for the disruption there. But ultimately, like, how do you manage that aspect? You're kind of talking about it from like a high level idea, right? But man, when you bring it down, and it's like if I have 25 agents or 100 agents running around my company or 100 cloud employees, like how do I ultimately figure that out?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
have to be almost, I think, like an organizational shift to like through.
Exactly. You have to treat it the same way you would treat it any other organization, right? If you have a ton of cloud employees or agents or whatever it is, like some group has to be able to manage that towards the end goals, right? And so having a person, an AI chief of staff or whatever it is, whose job
Plays
is
that
to
kind of organizational
yeah,
role.
yeah,
Yeah.
like these AI employees roll up to that person and they're responsible for the effectiveness of those things. And
I love it. I love
you
it, man.
gotta leave
Couple.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I was just going to
Yeah.
say, like, at that point is when you leave the idea of this becoming a tool or a solution aside. You have to start treating it like an actual performing employee. If it
Yeah.
doesn't perform, what happens? You coach it. If it's not coachable, it's out. You got to get something else in, right?
And this mind, man, that mindset shift, this tool versus teammate idea,
Yeah.
it's funky, man. Again, we've been so tool minded, especially, those of us who participated in ops, enablement, et cetera. And it's like what you just said. Yeah. I mean, it's now I've got this teammate and they're in an org chart and, um, they have a job to do. If they don't do that job, we fire them. Whereas, a tool was always enabling somebody to do the job. Now we're like hiring somebody to do the job. It's gonna get interesting, I think, in the way we organize it. You guys in enablement and ops and stuff like that, I think, are gonna obviously have to lead the way. Two more things I wanted to hit on before I let you go, man. One is just lot of top down conversations happening on some of this stuff. People saying, "Hey, we got to do AI, etc." Sometimes reps, there's a little bit of a disconnect on getting it actually implemented. Is there ways you've found to get the front line involved and get them going, or you're like, no, Gabe, actually they're leading the charge and they're bringing stuff to us and we're trying to kind of get it implemented? Like, how is the front line? How do you get the front line going on this stuff?
Yeah, I think that it's more of that latter piece where they're like right now the workforce is going out and they're finding AI that can solve their problems,
Yeah,
right?
interesting.
And
Yeah,
so they're creating the groundswell, and so finding an avenue for them to responsibly like
yeah,
filter those things up so that you can say, oh my gosh, like you've created 10 GPTs that are amazing, like how do we incorporate that into something that's
totally. Yeah,
accepted in our so having the reps be a part of it and be like the drivers of it, I think is huge. Now from like a strategic point of view, like you do need to look at business objectives that are beyond how do you do account research, right? It's like how do we leverage this to increase new hires productivity, right? Like all that kind of stuff has to come a little bit more from the top down, but it can be built on the back of some of these best practices that reps are bringing up. But at the same time, like when you do that, you have to be able to bring reps into the conversation. So,
yeah,
hey, Gabe, we're thinking about bringing in an AI new hire buddy. This is
yeah.
what it's going to do. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to make it so that reps stop coming to you and asking you mundane questions as our top seller, and instead they're going to go ask the mundane questions over here. What do you think? What do you think like are the things that would drive people that way, right? And
Yeah,
so
totally.
using them as part of that UIT or so yeah,
Makes a
big.
huge difference. All right, man. Well, last one before I let you jet. Just future here. What do what excites you about the future in AI and revenue enablement? What are you nervous about? What shifts are you seeing? Kind of give us the quick
Yeah.
future take.
It, I'm so excited about the future of AI. It's so wide open with enablement, and I think a lot of what the shift is going to be is right now. A lot of teams are trying to be proactive. Just generally speaking, in enablement, we try to be proactive enablement. It
Sure.
means we have to source data. We have to like get sentiment from the field. We have to understand what things are coming down the pipe in order to be proactive, and then we get everything set up to be proactive, and then something urgent comes in and blows up all that proactive stuff and we have to be reactive. I think that this shift is going to allow us to be more responsibly proactive and also be able to react quicker with less, I guess, impact to those proactive plans that we've been trying to make. I think that's like huge. I think reps not just getting content but actually getting real-time coaching in the moment that they need it, so almost like co-selling motion with an AI, right? Of course, onboarding, I'm like 100% confident that onboarding times are going to go down because people are going to become an expert overnight on some of this stuff. I don't know, man. There's
A
seriously
lot of
just so
opportunity.
much. I think shifts in leaders, like mindsets from control to co-pilot, from content to performance, from like tools to actual like digital teammates and colleagues, like we were talking about. I think all that stuff is going to be awesome. And I think at the end of the day, like what it's going to come down to is, this isn't a man versus machine sort of thing for enablement. It's an AI versus it's not. Yeah. So it's like, how do we incorporate AI into someone's workflow to actually make them more productive, more effective, all those sorts of things. And I think that's probably the most exciting thing for me with all
I
of
love
that.
it. I love it, man. A quick leave behind. I mean, so much going on. I hear we covered so much. Is there would be that one piece of advice you'd leave the audience with as they kind of start this AI transformation journey?
Yeah. I think the thing is, I would say just start. Like if you haven't started, just start. And then
Yeah.
it's kind of going back to the original point of our conversation. Like this isn't something that I think you need to be afraid of. It's something you need to embrace, right? And
Yeah.
so the longer you take to embrace it, the more you're gonna fall behind.
I love it. I love it, man. All righty. Well, hey, Jordan, it's always good catching up. It's been fun to watch you do some super cool stuff over the last 10 years. Looking for the next decade, looking forward to the next decade, man. So have a great one for the audience. Have a fantastic day.
See y'all. Thank you.